Aha! Okay. I appear to be live. Good. Despite the fact that it's a bit jerky. Alright, I'm the World Vortex. I'll just crack on with it now. I wanted to do a video talking about web development and basically the best ways to go about getting into it, what kind of foundational knowledge you'll need, useful tools to know, useful terms. If you've got any comments on the chat, just go on that and bung them in there. I've no idea how. I've not really planned this. I just decided to do this video because I'll just do it as a video anyway, and then see what happens. So I want to talk about different parts of knowledge that you might need, like different coding languages. Talk about the foundation knowledge you might need, different paths to get into web development and such. I'll talk about my own experience, and if anybody watches, then I'll answer questions or just one up. I'm not necessarily sure if I can answer all of them, but I'll do my best. Okay, so I'm going to talk first about the different distinctive roles within web development and what development actually means within the web development sphere, I suppose. So web development is essentially coming up with solutions for the web. In a nutshell, that's how I define it. It's coming up with solutions which work in a web browser typically and function on the web. Could be a application as well, I suppose, in the age of mobile computing, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll just stick to it's any piece of code that runs within a web browser and which primarily and which web developer develops. Web development, you have two main specializations, or most people see it this way, that there's two main approaches or parts to this now, and then a middle one as well. So within web development, you have what's called the front end. Whenever you go on a website, you'll know that you have a layout, you have buttons, you have elements of this website you can interact with. Now the front end is all about laying out and the presentation of a website and the user experience, or UI, UX, and which is user interface. And this is in contrast to the back end, which is more to do with what's going on underneath the surface, how databases are talking to the data on the front end itself, how servers, which is a server being a computer which serves information, is working with the website, etc. So if you kind of an easy way, good analogy to understand it, I suppose, would be that if you say you had this is a shit analogy actually, but say you had a robot with say you had a robot, Bender from Futurama, and he all his gears and mechanics and everything else was the back end, and then what you see is Bender in Futurama is the front end, how he looks, his his grey metallic self. That is a really terrible analogy, but it's funny one, so I'll just stick with that. And a web developer's job, and there's also a full stack developer as well, which is somebody who combines both of those skill sets into one. And a lot of the times as a developer anyway, you kind of have to know a bit about each one, but usually you kind of have more strengths in one way or the other, or sometimes you're a full stack developer. So I want to talk a bit next about what kind of code languages you're going to need to know to either be front end, back end, full stack, or just in general to get into coding. So, in my view, I think the best place to start is HTML, hypertext markup language. Pretty much the original way the content was viewed online. So, it's markup basically just tells a page on the internet how to display something with tags, essentially, usually anyway, and it's just a way of writing tags or code, if you will, to make something display in a certain way. Layout, as in like if you had, I don't know, like a website of 2 columns, 3 rows, whatever. Say if you had Facebook, you got your header at the top, your like blue bar at the top. Try and make this a bit more layman's. Blue bar at the top, and then you had menu items there, and then your friends on the left, main area, and the right of the feed. That's the layout. It's the different sections of the website, which is typically, just to keep it simple, typically controlled with CSS, cascading style sheets, which is a way of presenting. It's like going back to the Bender analogy, the robot Bender analogy, it's the Bender's paint on his robot suit. Whereas HTML would be, this is an arm, this is the head, or head definitely, body. No, that's just terrible. Okay. JavaScript as well, which is a programming language, is commonly used in the front end development. It's a programming language which you can use to achieve many different functionalities. jQuery is also a useful thing to know from this, which is basically a JavaScript library which speeds up doing a lot of things and is quite efficient and is also well used, though it is kind of getting phased out a little bit more now, I think, due to the development of React and such, but it's still probably quite used. The whole format of this thing is that I'm just going to yabber until I can't be bothered, so probably for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and just do this partially as a test as well. Okay, so backend, typical backend technology would be something like PHP, programming language, which is server-side programming language, and it's a way of creating dynamic websites. I'm going to introduce a new concept here, or phrase, I suppose, which is CMS. CMS is a content management system, which the best way to think about that is continue with the Bender robot analogy, just because it's funny and I want to make it really funny, is if Bender had like a sign on the front of his belly, which had like electronic messages that came through, then that would be that. I completely screwed that up. Oh, anyway, yeah, it's content management. Yeah, that's it. Content management system is a way for people who actually you're producing a website for, like clients, can edit their own content. Not just that, but that's just one of the main uses of it. It's a way of organizing content. You can also, most of them are community supported. So like WordPress, for example, commonly used one is, it's got a huge community of users who use it. It's open source. PHP, many people use it, and you have plugins on that as well. I'm going off track a bit now. I should go back into more informative things as opposed to yabbering too much and going on my own arse. Okay, this is very informal. I don't want to make this like this is not a teaching session. This is just me chatting shit for half an hour for a laugh. Okay. Good places to start in terms of if you want to get into coding. Codeacademy.com is a good one. That's a website you can do exercises, learn about HTML, CSS, PHP, many different things. It's a guided course. There's a Code Academy. Udemy is a good one. If you can get cheap courses on there sometimes as well, like for £10 if you look out for when the offers come up. So if you want to learn a really specific sort of technology or how to do a specific sort of thing. Another great thing to do actually is to set up a GitHub account. GitHub is a repository online for where you can store code and look at other people's code and fork other people's code. Now, I don't mean fork as in like fork or fork. I mean like a fork that you poke people with. Fork is like an analogy for creating like a copy of someone's code, basically, code base. GitHub's good for that. GitHub is driven by a technology called Git, which is a way of doing source control on code that you produce. So, for example, say if you were building an application, you're going to want to keep track of the code, and you're going to also want to know what has happened at each stage. You're going to want to be able to roll back in case anything goes wrong. And if multiple people are working on the same thing, they want to be able to know what's going on at every point, basically. Within Git, Git is just a way of doing that. Source control is a way of doing that. So most people use GitHub as a code repository on the line. My own personal Git is Dr. Noir. I'll put it up actually. GitHub.Dr. Noir. Put it up on here. Dr. Noir. This should leave you in the right place. Put it in the chat. I know that no one's watching right now, but just in case someone's watching later. Boosh. And that, GitHub is just a useful way of keeping track of stuff you do. To write code, you're going to need an IDE, code editor. So I use Visual Studio Code. It's free, Microsoft, but don't let that put you off. It's actually quite a good code editor. Atom's a good one. I really like Atom. Not as much as Visual Studio Code. I don't think it's fully featured in personally, but I think it's good as well. And then there's tons of other options as well. In terms of, let me just think. I think some other phrases I should introduce into this, I suppose. So for actually transferring files, there's several ways you can do that, i.e. from your computer to server or live from what's known as production to build. So like production code to live, actually online code. So ways, well, many different ways you can do that in general, but depending on what you're using. But here's some things that are worth introducing. FTP, file transfer protocol. It's a protocol for transferring information from a local computer to a server. It's not the most secure way of doing things, but it is easy. That's one thing about it. And depending on the kind of projects you're working on, you probably, commonly if you're beginning, you're going to be, you are pushing something to a server. That will likely be a way that you'll be doing it. SFTP, which is a slightly more secure version of that. And SSH, where you generate a key, a unique key with a unique identification number, which is immune to basically encrypts the information as it's transferred. There's no point going into that for the beginner's video. Okay, so I'm going to talk just for a little bit longer because I don't want to ramble on for too long, and this is kind of just a test. So, yeah, what next? What are your real career prospects as a web developer? Well, it's quite a lot, actually, to be fair. Even though you have your kind of like what you see is what you get out of things like Wix and Squarespace and such. Squarespace, in fact, is actually quite good. I quite like it, but that's by the by. you still need people to who have this kind of core skill of being able to develop websites fast. There's often web developers in a lot of ways are building more applications. They're more focused on application building. So there's a distinction to be made there between building a website, which is typically a small business, SME, informational. It's just imparting information in an attractive and interesting way to the user. There's still user concerns of how stuff's getting over there, but I do hope my audio is working actually, otherwise this is completely pointless. Let's have a look. Just gonna check. Yeah. Should be. We'll find out. So yeah, I've lost train of thought. This has been a bit of a shambles, but I hope you found some interesting stuff. Code Academy is a good place to start. Learn HTML, learn CSS, learn JavaScript, definitely. Those are the top 3 to learn when you start off, I think. Python's good to learn, but I don't know it myself. But it's a very robust language. It's being used more often now as well. So that's a good one to get into, Python. PHP runs, most of the web runs on it still. WordPress development, if you want to get into that. I've talked a bit about WordPress, what it is, even though I use that shitty Bender analogy. Bender the robot analogy. And yeah, I don't know what else to say really. That was some off the cuff tips on how to get started in web development, basically. So good evening.